What a dramatic entrance. um, Let me see. The only problem is I had um, yeah, the problem was I had the music a little too loud. So I think going forward, I need to make sure I I dial that back. But yeah, I was eating dinner, eating Chinese food, uh, and let me mute that. But yeah, I was eating some takeout. Um, Let me see. Of course, it never works quite as like I wanted to. But I actually was eating this. um, so yeah, that's why I was um, kind of had something in my mouth when we started. Anyhow, so clear sky. We have clear skies here today for the first time in a while, and so I'm trying to take advantage of it. And I thought, what better way to do that than with a live stream? Um, yeah, unfortunately, the way I'm doing this today, the chat does. I can't bring it on. I can't bring it in on stream. But if you're watching the playback, or if you're here live, you can see it. You can see the chat. But unfortunately, unless I pull my desktop in, we can't. I can't view the live stream. But so I'm not. I think the last time I did an astronomy live stream, I was kind of downstairs near just near the patio door, and my telescope was right outside. But today I'm trying something different, so we'll see how well this works. But the I'm kind of where I film my videos on the second floor, but it's near, like the telescope's just kind of outside down below, and so I can get to it from the app. So we'll see if that lasts. If not, then the stream might have a problem. But let me see. Let me switch the view here. It is. Let's bring. Is this the one? Bring this in. Did that work? No, it did not. Oh, I was doing some things just before I came on stream, and I ended up canceling out of my this one mode with my switcher. There we go. There we go. Actually, that's not. Oh, let me. Again, this is an exercise. I think that's what I. Hold on. I'm using a video switcher, and things are kind of all confused. Okay. Now it's where I wanted it to be. So this is. I already had set up my telescope, the Seestar S50 outside, and yeah, so I have the app running, and I'm gonna actually try. Actually, I'm gonna see check the autofocus on this. Um, so I'm gonna see how that works. Meanwhile, let me go look at this. Um, mm, let me. There we go. Okay. Does that look any better? Well, I'm going to start imaging it. I'm going to restart. So I'm going to go back to my image here. Let me let me see something here. So this isn't exactly what I wanted. I'm just kind of editing this on the fly here. So, what in the world did it do? Let's, there we go. There we go. All right. Okay. There we go. So you can see it's starting to image some things, and if you see if you look, you can see there's a couple of fuzzy patches there. Those are both galaxies. One of them is I think it was like M64. Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of an issue. Let me go into the yeah, see, okay. Let me go back. It's rotated from what I'm used to. Okay. I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to adjust the alignment just a little bit. So you can click and drag on the where you want to aim the target. So I'm just moving it slightly over. It's not going to be perfect because the what do you call it, frame rotation and other limitations, but let's also try to get it more centered vertically, kind of, sort of. Okay, so I'm going to go to there. So this is as you can see on the screen, it's M65, M66, and NGC 3628, which is the Leo Triplet. So let me increase the size of that just a little bit. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Supposedly it has adjusted itself. So let's start recording. Yeah, I've mentioned this on previous live streams, but I've mentioned on videos, live streams. It's very my backyard is very challenging. Not only do I live in a Portal 8.9 environment, but the there's buildings around, like other, I mean, multiple, every house in the neighborhood is 2+ stories, and so um, it's kind of like a canyon in the backyard. So it's challenging to see the sky, and the sky you can see is very light polluted, and of course the clear night tonight is almost full moon. So wow, did you see the blurring on that? So it's interesting. So this effect here, where it's I'm viewing the stream in live, but that kind of blurring of the star trailing. I've seen that with the Seestar. Sometimes when it's first trying to image, it will it glitches or something. It also does some dithering where it kind of moves every fifth frame or something. And I've had it where it just ends up kind of really botching the exposure. It seems to be having a hard time right now. But again, these targets aren't the brightest, although they're pretty bright as far as galaxies go. But I may not have mentioned that, but all three of those targets are galaxies. So you can see to the, it'll become more apparent as more data comes in, but you can see to the very right of the frame is one of the galaxies, and then there's kind of a smudge kind of to the lower bottom, and then one on the left side. And as it gets a few more minutes of data, of exposure, you'll start really seeing the galaxies. But yeah, it seems to be having problems. That's the other thing. I don't know how windy it is tonight, so it was a little windy at one point, and the tripod I have it on ends up shaking a lot. Let me see. I'm going to switch just to the I'm going to just switch to the telescope view. Let me see. I'm going to switch to the telescope view so I can eat some of my food, and I'll mute the audio. So, oh hey, Inception. We've got a picture in picture. Let me turn off. Oops, wrong one. There. I'll leave that off for a moment while I take a few bites of food. Hi, Lori. I've message from Lori. This is just this was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. Yeah, it's just a spur of the moment live stream, so it's not anything too earth shattering. Just doing some observing. But it is really having some difficulty. I mean, it's been running a few minutes, and it's only gotten like 3 frames, 30 seconds. So I might have to stop. I might have to stop it and try another target. Because I've noticed sometimes if it's pointing certain directions, it seems to struggle more. But I'll do that after I have a few bites of food, so you don't have to watch me eat. This is really a bummer. It's oops. It's really a bummer. It really hasn't. Well, it finally got another frame, so I'm gonna just try let it see if it'll get any more. Because I've had it where sometimes it'll have several in a row where it'll fail, but then it eventually succeeds. But this doesn't seem to be succeeding. Well, that's kind of a bummer. I'd been wanting to get some more more exposures of the Leo Triplet to try to process it more. So, yeah. Oh, I'll wait one more. But that's just kind of disappointing. Yeah. Whole lot of nothing. So I'm gonna stop it. It didn't even get a minute worth of exposure. So I'm gonna stop that, and then let's see what else we can look at. Yeah. Lori mentioned some in the chat about she'd love to see some of the planets you could see while videoing the eclipse. Yeah, unfortunately, like my setup right now is I should probably do some of these live streams a little bit more frequently. I might start doing some of them unlisted or like members only. Just, you know, for these kind of less structured, more informal kind of videos. But yeah, unfortunately, the way I have this set up right now, it's not streaming from the laptop, so it would be difficult for me to pull up the video. I'm able to share I could do it through my phone, but it's not as I don't have some of the photos and video on my phone, unfortunately. So this was kind of a bust. So let's see what else there is. So there was a little bit of dark sky last night, and I was able to get a very small amount of stuff that actually succeeded. So let's see if we can do the pinwheel galaxy. Let's see if that works, because that would be great. Oh, okay. She said, Lori said, not today, a separate video. Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. So right now it's tracking. So you'll see it, the red square is where, or the red rectangle is where the telescope is going to be pointing, and the blue rectangle is where it actually is. And sometimes it'll jump around because it'll realize it didn't point correctly. There. So I was able to move to the new target, and it believes it's in the right place. So let's try this. I'm just kind of looking at the live stream, just because sometimes I've noticed when you go to a new target, it kind of it still hasn't settled down immediately. but this seems okay. So I'm going to go ahead and try it. I probably will do this, this kind of remote or this live observing stuff again, and because the weather's been so bad here, not bad, but just cloudy, bad from an astronomy point of view. I do plan on actually I don't need my headphones on. I had them on earlier because I was monitoring the audio, but I'm not monitoring any audio right now. But yeah, it's been bad, lousy from an observing point of view. So I'm thinking I might go somewhere, drive somewhere. Oh, it actually managed to get 4 exposures so far. So we'll let this go for a little bit. Hopefully it'll keep going. It's kind of hard to tell, but if you look pretty much right in the center, you can start seeing M101, which is a nice face-on kind of spiral galaxy. I've taken some photos of it before with this telescope, but I wanted to kind of collect more data so I can combine it together and kind of enhance it and get a richer image. I'm gonna. Oh, hey. This is Drone on the Bayou. Thank you for your tips on the S50. Got some amazing shots and clips of the total eclipse. Well, that's great. Where did you go for the eclipse? While I'm waiting for the answer to go out to YouTube, I'm gonna eat a brief bite here. I have my food. Let me mute. There. Oh. Well, that's awkward. So I'm eating some food from a local Chinese restaurant, and I just got a pepper in my mouth. I mean, anyway. I was about 1 hour east northeast of Dallas, north of Sulphur Springs. Oh, well, that's great, because I had seen on the I ended up leaving Texas because originally my plan was to go out to San Antonio, past San Antonio, and to like Kerrville, and I ended up because it wasn't clear to me if it was going to be clear. I ended up heading to like Memphis, Tennessee, just because that kind of got me closer to southern Illinois, Missouri, which a couple days before the eclipse, or 3 days before the eclipse, it looked like the weather would be good there. Anyway, I ended up like in New England. But then I see a lot of people's photos from Arkansas and far northeast Texas and Illinois, Missouri, where they were able to either see it through the clouds or actually had some clear skies. But I don't have any regrets about about all the driving I did. But it turns out I wouldn't have had to have driven that far. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh hi, hello. Um, yeah. Like I was saying, I can't bring the chat on stream. So I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your ID. Hachimitsu. Hello. um, okay. Drone on Debayu said 30 minutes before totality it cleared up. So that's great. That's great. I think because I've had issues in the past with like near misses with eclipses. Um, and since I was in the car anyway, I just kept driving. Um, the good thing is I ended up somewhere where I was for the first time, literally the first time I've ever seen an eclipse where I had no clouds, like the whole duration. So it was great. Like I say, I have no regrets about all that driving, but it was a lot of driving. It took me several days to recover from all of it. Okay. Oh, hi, Erie Lackawanna rail fan. Currently, I have the Seestar out imaging as well. Very clear night in New Jersey. That's great. Yeah, we haven't had a lot since I've been back from the eclipse. We've had days where it was clear, but not at night. Or it was like way after midnight. It might have been clear, but I didn't want to stay up and um, yeah. So unfortunately, um, Hachimitsu. Okay. Uh, yeah. If yeah that yeah of course. So yeah. Erie Lackawanna rail fan said, yeah, if only it was the moon wasn't so bright. Yeah, that's the issue I had. Or I'm having is I haven't had any good clear skies at night, and of course the night it ends up being the best, one of the best from a seeing point of view that we've had recently, and clear would of course be like right at the full moon. So that's kind of a drag. Um, so like you can see it was either a plane or a satellite went across the frame. That as it gets more exposures, that'll kind of get evened out. Um, and this galaxy is kind of a faint one. I mean, it's relatively big, um, and I guess maybe it's not that faint, but you can see it's taking a bit. But you can definitely see it kind of in the middle, that kind of a um, circular structure. That's the galaxy. Um, yeah. So um, so Hachimitsu says, yeah, the Illinois was ended up being ended up being good. Um, but yeah, it was the problem was the forecasts. Um, I mean, most forecasts really aren't oriented around telling you if the sky is clear so much. It's more about, at least a lot of the stuff that comes out that's shown to the public. It only talks about like, is it going to rain? What are the chances? And then I started seeing data where they were, and it was only like the last 48 hours, I feel, where the models, like the short term models, would actually say, is it cloudy, but also what kind of clouds? Because that makes a huge difference. If it's like, thick clouds, you can't see anything. But if it's high clouds, like wispy clouds, doesn't matter. Um, and so some of those I remember at the time where it looked like Central Texas was going to have more of the lower clouds, but then Northeast Texas going into Arkansas, Illinois, um, we're going to have more of the wispy clouds, but it still wasn't certain, and so it ended up being um, hi, Richard Martin from Central Washington. Um, oh, watching. I guess it's a little. The sun is still up where you are, or maybe near sunset. Um, um, yeah, so that's cool. The moon should make a really good target. I did get some exposures yesterday of the moon, or the day before. Um, we had a little bit of a clearing, and I was able to get. It might have been the other day. I was able to get some photos of the moon, but then clouds rolled in, and by the time it started getting dark, I wasn't able to see anything. Um, but I was quite happy with the moon photo, so at least I had something. So the uh, Airy Lackawanna Railfan, it just started imaging the Needle Galaxy. How dark are your skies, Bortle wise? I may have asked this before, but I forgot. Um, I'm gonna mute again and take another bite of food. So apologies. Okay, Bortle 5. That's. I mean, from where I am, I would love to have Bortle 5. I'm like Bortle 8, 9. And you can sometimes tell, looking at some of these photos, how much it struggles to be able to um, get a decent photo. There's um, yeah. Whenever I see people posting photos from um, where they live, and it's like Bortle 4 or 5, and the photo will have the little caption where it says how long the exposure was, and you see it, and it's like it. I mean, from my point of view, I'll see, like 15-minute exposure, and I'm like, I can't get that in 15 minutes where I live. It takes a lot longer. Um, yeah. So Hachimitsu lives in a red color. Um, yeah, where I am, it's white. On the on like lightpollution.info. Um, um, hold on. Yeah. So, um, at the risk of totally messing with this again, let me actually, what is it? It's input 4. Um, let me look at that. Oh, 7, like a Bortle 7. That's not bad. I mean, from where I live, it's not bad. So Magical Wing LT. I wish I had the Seestar for tomorrow night. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I mean, S23 Ultra. I've seen some people post some good photos from some of those smartphones. Actually, is that what it is? An S? Is that what an S? Sorry, S23 Ultra. Oh yeah, yeah. Is that the one? Oh, 200 megapixel camera. Is that right? Wow, that's impressive. Um, yeah, I've seen some good photos from that. But the Sea Star is nice because of the level of magnification, and the fact that it can just take exposures and just keep going and accumulate stuff, accumulate data. Although this seems a bit underwhelming because of, like I say, I think because of the all the light pollution and and the moon. Um, yeah, Yeah, it is so Hachimitsu. Yeah, the app, it is very simple to use. And I should actually probably do a video, just kind of like a quick run through of it. Actually, I might be doing yeah, there's a video that I after I get the next video out, I might be doing it, but where I might go into some of the details. But it's very straightforward. And it has, so while it's collecting the data, I can go back in here. So this is the kind of the, what do you call it, the start screen of the app when you start it up. And it's the same. I believe it's pretty much exactly the same for Android and iOS. This is on iOS. And it has, like this list of current best things you can see, like, M1, M44, M51. Now, some of these you might not be, it might be later in the evening, or if it's near the horizon and you have trees, it could be a problem. But it still kind of gives you, some things to start with. But then if you go into, actually not the Star Atlas, oh yeah, the Star Atlas, and then you go search, it has, again, this current best list, and you can see like comets, galaxies, clusters, and it tells you the elevation above the horizon. So you can see, okay, M96 is off to the south, nice high in the sky. So from where I live, I'd be able to see it. But then it has the solar system targets. So you have the moon, the sun, planets. Or if there's a specific kind of thing you want to look at, you can go and look at, galaxies, nebulas, clusters, or Messier, whatever. I mean, so you can search if you know what you want to look at, but if you don't, you can kind of browse through this screen and pull up something and start taking images of it, which makes it like super convenient. I mean, I've been enjoying mine a lot. Um, a lot. I've been using mine quite a bit. Um, um, okay, hot. Just call me Hachi. That'll be easier. Um, yeah. Hachi asked if yeah, it can take photos of comets. I have not taken a photo of a comet, but I've seen other people's photos with comets. But like going into the Star Atlas, um, like the Pan Stars is invisible, but it's visible later in the evening. So like four in the, after 2 or 3 in the morning. But then like this comet would have been visible like slightly after sunset. So like the sunset's here around 8 p.m. So you can see at 9 p.m. it would have still been above the horizon. So yeah, and there's other. I don't remember if it lets you. Oh, comet right there. See, look, and you can go look at different comets, Pan stars, Pons Brooks, which was the one that some people were speculating might have been visible during the eclipse. I haven't heard anything about that, but I haven't actually looked. Hi Bitter asks, can I use my Seestar and mirror the image to a smart TV? If you have, so the simplest answer would be, I think, if you have if you have like an iPhone, you can, if you have a smart TV like like a Chrome, like Chromecast or some of those devices where you can screencast, so you can just pull up the pull up the screen and then share it to the TV, or you can and there's similar things you can do with Android, and it depends. Based on my past experience, it depends on what smart TV you have and stuff. It works definitely if you can share the screen with the device. What I'm doing here actually is I just have an HDMI cable plugged into my phone, mostly because sometimes I've had issues where if I try to plug it into my computer, this happened to me once. I plugged it into my computer to share the screen through my computer onto the stream, and then my laptop decided it wanted to tether off my phone because I'd plugged it in and it broke the live stream. Um, so that's why I'm using an HDMI cable because that was kind of awkward. Um, let me go back to. Oops, got it. Let me go back to my imaging here. So Jack G, 2 weeks ago, just after sunset, I got some nice comet shots. Oh, that's great. That's great. Was it that Pons or that Brooks one or Pons Brooks, or was it another comet? Yeah. So Hachi said, I heard it was extremely difficult to take a photo of the comet during the eclipse. Um, Even if, yeah. I mean, originally when I was hoping to stay in Texas, um, and I was going to go out to Kerrville, and totality would have been like over 4 minutes. It would have been nice and long. And the bigger thing is the sun, since the eclipse was earlier in the like 1 o'clock, it was higher in the sky. The sun was higher in the sky, and also Jupiter was very high in the sky. And so I had this plan in mind that I was going to try to take some photos in that area because I had more than one camera going. But then, and I had all these other plans too. But once I ended up in New England, and I mapped it out the night before and realized that some of the stuff I wanted to do wouldn't have been possible because it would have been too low. Not Jupiter. Jupiter and Venus were easily visible, but I wanted to try to also get Saturn, which would have been high enough to see in Texas, but it wasn't high enough to see in Maine. And so I just scrapped the whole plan. But I'd even framed it up ahead of time. At some point I'm going to do a video about kind of how I plan out things using, when I'm not doing Seestar stuff, how I plan it out. And actually even sometimes when I do Seestar stuff, how I plan out things with Stellarium of like what targets I want to try to image. So I'd already kind of figured out how I could frame it, what lens I needed, about how long of an exposure, because I'd done a back of an envelope calculation, and even if the comet hadn't had a flare, so long as it hadn't been disrupted, I was pretty confident I would be able to take a photo of it, because I was able to get, without really trying and with really bad exposures, I was able to get a 6th magnitude star in 2017 that was pretty close to the sun, and I figured the position of the comet would have been better this time, and it probably wouldn't be 6 magnitudes. So it would have been brighter, so I was pretty sure I would be able to get it, but I scratched the whole plan. Sorry, I was talking. I'd like to get another chance to comment. I want to be able to get. Yeah, but yeah. I don't know if I've seen some nice comets over the years. I used to do a lot more visual astronomy, and so, but I don't think the problem with a lot of comets is they're either like right after sunset, and so I can't, from where I live now, I have too many obstructions, so I can't. I'd have to drive somewhere to even be able to take a photo of a comet in the evening or in the morning. Okay, yeah, P12, cool. someone got a shot of a comet that later flew into the sun. Oh, that's interesting. I need to look for that. Um, I've seen photos of that kind of stuff from satellites years ago, like ones that did solar observation where they captured a comet just before it crashed into the sun. Um, Hachi, thanks. I want to thank you for the video, the clips. You're welcome. That was part of the reason why I ended up focusing more on the video side than the photo side this time. Is having been to a few eclipses, just a few. Not I'm not like a hardcore eclipse chaser, but I feel like the photos are beautiful, and I'm definitely going to try again some of these kind of interesting, not interesting, but these things I want to kind of challenge myself with some eclipse photos next eclipse I see. But the videos capture some. I mean, and it wasn't. I I had it in my head that I was going to video the eclipse, but I hadn't actually. I wasn't sure how feasible it would be as far as the exposures. I had a camera that I was pretty sure would be able to handle the dynamic range, and anyway, I ended up seeing in the weeks leading up to this eclipse, other people's videos from like 2023 in Australia, where they had taken videos, and so that was kind of an inspiration for me to try to really capture a lot of as good of a quality of video as I could with the hardware I have, and I was very satisfied with the result, and I'm glad people liked the video. Um, Marco 81. Good evening. Cloudy skies at my location. No, yeah, no. It should. What was it? The support network where when you aren't able to. I jump on other people's live streams too sometimes when it's cloudy here. Actually, I've more than once I've done that. Um, yeah, it's 12 minutes, but you can start seeing in the center here the kind of the spiral structure of M101, but it's slow. I don't know. I don't want to stop it too early, but I do want to try to image some other things tonight. Um, yeah, it's looks like a pinwheel. You're right. It's the pinwheel, or there's several galaxies that kind of go by that. You can see in the star catalog view of it. That's kind of what it's going to look like. Um, it's M101, which actually, there it is. Pinwheel. You're right. Pinwheel. It's actually the problem is there's several galaxies that have this shape and that are reasonably bright, not like super deep sky, but uh, they're all kind of like pinwheels. So I think there's more than one. Well, there's like the pinwheel, there's the whirlpool, there's it's just different variations on that, but yeah, yeah, good. I'm glad you. So Jack G is also has cloudy skies. So yeah, like I say, it's been brutal here recently. So much so that I was on the verge of hopping in my car and driving to like West Texas, because it tends to be drier out there and less cloudy, um, and yeah. So I'm gonna before my food gets cold, I'm gonna take another bite of food. Give me a sec. I had a little bit of spice on that, and I was almost afraid that it was going to be like that one that I almost had to like get up um, in the middle of the live stream because that one was kind of brutal. Yeah, Magical Wing LT. The weather's been strange for several months, raining a lot and cloudy. It hasn't been raining so much here, but it's been very cloudy here. Um, and usually we will have patterns where it'll be cloudy for an extended period of time, and ones where it'll be sunny for an extended, but mostly it's kind of broken clouds, partly cloudy a lot of times. But it's been just very consistently cloudy here, especially in the evening. I mean, at night. Like it'll briefly clear up during the day, but I use Astrospheric, kind of one of the astronomy weather apps, and it'll say, yes, it's clear, but it's going to change before sunset or just at sunset. And so it ends up being a kind of a waste. And then, we have a clear night here, and of course it's almost full moon. So it's like, it just can't catch a break. And then we might have another clear night tomorrow, but then like nothing for another week at least. So, finally really clear night in Northern Virginia. There's been sparse clouds most nights in the past week. Yeah, that was the other thing. I think it was 2 nights ago. It was clear, and it looked like it looked like according to the app that there would be clouds coming in later in the evening. And so I put the Seestar. That's the great thing about the Seestar is, for those who have it, it's like no setup time. You just kind of, or almost no setup time. It's like 5 minutes and you're up and running. Sometimes less. And so I got it out there. I started imaging. The problem is it was a bit windy, so there was a lot of images that weren't. It was having like half the frames weren't working. And it was going for a while, and then it kind of seemed like I was able to get some captures, and I was hoping I'd be able to capture a bit more before I went to bed. But then I noticed I was looking at it, and it was failing, and I forget what I was imaging. It just wasn't working. And there were enough clouds that had rolled in that like every frame was being rejected because there just wasn't enough clear patches in the sky. And I'm just like, and then I looked at it and it said like it might clear at 4 a.m. again. And I'm like, I went to bed. So that was kind of a drag. Jack G, I noticed when I was looking for another target after the comet, some of the, some of the targets it says to use the filter. Yeah, and actually, it usually just does it for you, I think. Sometimes I explicitly will turn it on. Like for a galaxy, typically you don't, but for more diffuse things like nebula, you would use the filter. But there's been times where I guess, as an experiment, I used the filter to try to, anyway. But yeah, it's very helpful. I think when I first got it, I hadn't noticed that either. And I had it for like a few days or something. And then I was like, oh, that's handy. It is very handy. It's very beginner friendly, but it's also, like I say, I love using it because it's so easy and quick to get kind of up and running with stuff. And I have a feeling from now on, whenever I travel somewhere, I will always make sure I bring this along, especially if I'm going somewhere like outside of a city. Like I wouldn't bring it if I went to New York City necessarily. But if I'm going, somewhere less populated or on a road trip, definitely am going to bring it every time from now on. Yeah, on Marco 81MX said, I saw a video from a Seestar on a Facebook group of the ISS transiting the sun. Actually, I have a video of that. I have a short. It's a Google short on this, a YouTube short on this channel. But if you go after this is over or on another device, I took a video of that back in January or December. Let me, what is it? ISS? Was it? Yeah. Let me see. Can I post a link in my chat? Okay. Yeah. That's the website that I use, and it will tell you if the ISS or the Chinese space station or Hubble are transiting. You can turn off the others and just focus on the ISS because it is a bigger target. But that's what I used, and I do look at it periodically. And usually the path isn't near me, but that one I did a video of, it was like 10 miles from my house. So it was easy enough. I just kind of drove over there, got my Seestar going, turned it on, said, look at the sun with the solar filter on. And then just, because this website will tell you to the second when it will transit for a specific location. And I made sure to, like, I had looked on the map the map view shows you, and I was able to find a park that was on that path. And so I went to the park. I knew within a few seconds, but I think I started recording it like a minute ahead of time, recorded the video and got the ISS going across it. You can do the same thing with the moon too. I mean, that's the great thing about it. It makes it so easy. Yeah. Yeah, the International Space Station. I mean, like I say, it's a good target because it's big. It's very big. And I mean, if you look at the video I shot of it I've seen some very impressive videos with people who had very, very large telescopes, but given that the Seestar is like so small, I was able to get, and I if you look at the video, you'll see what I did there. But I basically kind of zoomed in on the space station as it was crossing the sun and slowed down the video, and so you can see the shape of the silhouette on the sun and how it and I put a photo for reference of what the space station looks like, and you can tell it's the little kind of H shape with solar panels in the main central truss. But it was like really easy. Like basically you use this website, figure out, where there is some, a transit, and then just I showed up a little bit earlier than that before, just because I wasn't sure about traffic. Cause it was still in the city during the week. But it was early enough that there wasn't much traffic. And I think it was around Christmas or New Year's. So there wasn't much traffic, but, so Magical Wing LT, I believe we only had 23 days of clear since January. Yeah, and that was, I think, part of the problem with, Texas. Well, that may not have been the problem, but I had seen some discussion where they were saying, well, if El Nino if it was in effect, the odds in Texas would be better, but once El Nino ends, the odds kind of would get worse. And I think that may have been what happened. Like El Nino had kind of started fading. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Hachi went to New Orleans after the solar eclipse. Yeah. Yeah, it's Yeah, New Orleans, you can definitely get a lot of well, it's like Houston along the Gulf Coast. We get some very um, strong thunderstorms. I mean, other parts of the country do, but we specifically get ones that come off the Gulf, and those can be pretty drastic. Um, yeah, it's difficult to find dark skies along the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, there's some less populated areas, but my experience is I think because when I was younger, we'd go on road trips, and I would sometimes have astronomical binoculars and other stuff. But I think even if you're in an area that's more remote, I feel like there's other issues with like haze that kind of affects your ability to see things. Plus, just it's so built up along the coast in a lot of areas. Um, oh, nice. Richard Martin got some good shots of the moon. That's great. Um, I might actually have to image the moon at this point because this is 20 minutes of exposure um, between light pollution and the moon. It's really struggling. Let me see what else I've imaged recently. Um, um, oh, let me try this. Let me try M3. So let's go back and one final look at the pinwheel before I stop it. So you can kind of see you can kind of see the structure there. I've taken other exposures of it, and so what I'll probably do is combine multiple nights in serial and try to enhance this so you can see the spiral structure more clearly. But I had hoped to get more exposure this time, but I guess not today. But you can see, yeah, that's what it should be. That's where it should be. But you can see and some of the structure there. So I think if I can get a few more nights like this, I can combine it into something more visible. But let's go to. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here. M3. It doesn't quite look like this through the Seestar, but yeah, that's high enough in the sky. So let's try this. Hachi asked, did you encounter high winds? So yes, it was windy, but it was windy even before the eclipse where I was, and I did have problems. I didn't have it on the tripod I usually use, which is taller. I had it on the Seestar tripod, which is very, very low, and I don't have one handy, but I had carried some of my telescope gear in like these 30-gallon or whatever totes. They're like totes like this big, fairly big plastic totes. And so I set one up. Like I say, I'd used it for my gear, some of like my telescope mounts, and they were empty, or it was empty. And so I put it kind of upwind, like right next to the Seestar. And that helped a little bit because it was big enough that it was able to block a lot of the wind. But you can see when you look at the time lapse I did, you can see it's shaking. And I stabilized some of it in the video editor, but not a ton. I think putting the tote in front of it helped a lot. But I had to improvise on the spot because it was so windy. Oh, that's nice. Marco A1MX. Every weekend with clear skies is a camping weekend for me since I got that S50. Yeah, astronomy went from something of yeah. Oh, that's great. You joined the local club, and everyone there got one too. Yeah, I've that seems to be. Whoa, my screen locked. Sorry about that. Um, there, it should be back. Um, wasn't paying attention. Sorry, I had pointed it at M3 and it had tracked there, and then I forgot to start taking the photo. But you can see in the center, um, like even with just kind of the default viewfinder mode, it's already got um, it already is able to see some of it. So it should quickly be able to pick up more of it. And I've exposed M3. I've taken some photos of M3 on some previous nights, and so again, I want to try to combine them. Yeah, that one's more satisfying because you start seeing something pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. So a lot of people, a lot of other people are getting Seestars. Yeah, and that was the thing too that I was thinking about. I was so frustrated with the weather here, and I knew like out west, um, from where I live, it's a long drive. Maybe not as long by Texas standards, and it's on I-10, so it goes by quickly. And I thought about driving out to this, maybe even staying at this campground out there, um, and bringing along my telescope because I was like so frustrated, um, especially because it was after the eclipse. It's after the eclipse, and I was able to get some photos there, and so I'm kind of like I want to get back to imaging other things, and I'm like having issues with it. So, but that's great. Yeah, camping in the Seestar is I'm sure it's a great combination, especially as small as it is, and it runs on batteries and self-contained, and yeah, I would have loved to have had something like that years ago. Um, it was windy in New Jersey, and it's been windy a lot lately. Yeah, it's been very windy here. Um, yeah, but yeah, this is good. It's almost a minute of exposure, and it's already starting to show more of the globular cluster. So this is M3, which is in didn't have much information there, but yeah, no, it's rapidly exposing. Um, yeah, using magical wing, use yeah, photo on a yeah, phone on a stable tripod. Yeah, I mean, I've I there's this article I need to go back and look at where it was this guy who famous astronomy writer, where he was talking about um, rethinking this solar eclipse photography, and he'd built specialized telescopes and other rigs, and he'd going back to the film days, and it was something where what was the it was I didn't read the whole article, but basically it's like one of the now that we're in the digital era, like the best photo he's ever taken of a total solar eclipse, his main rig like failed, and he like propped his camera on like a rock and got his best eclipse photo. um, so yeah, with digital, it's and cell phones, some of them, especially like that S23 Ultra. Um, yeah, it's you can get shockingly good photos. The only problem is with a lot of at least the smartphones, they don't have enough reach, enough zoom, actual like optical zoom. Although some of them I know they've had, and the Ultra might be one of them where they have some kind of um, one of them has a pretty decent lens on it. Um, I did take some photos and video of totality with my iPhone. Not really. I was mainly, it was kind of like, it wasn't an afterthought. It was just something I tried while I was kind of babysitting my main video rig. And it has a 5x optical zoom. It was okay. The stuff I was most happy with that I did with the iPhone was the wide videos I shot with it. Um, um, but yeah, and then you can get the add-on lenses and stuff. Or I've seen some good results of where people had kind of just attached it to their telescope or binoculars even, and gotten some good photos. Um, okay, tridapter binoculars worked. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Sometimes it ends up being a scramble with the eclipses, which is definitely that's happened to me more care times than I care to think about. But yeah, this is I think just a few minutes of exposure with this will be quite nice. Um, and like I say, I've taken with the clear nights, I've managed to get a little bit of exposures of M3, and so I hope to kind of combine them and run some like sharpening on them to try to make it better. Let me see. That's funny. People using a hot dog bun as a tripod mount, a block of cheese. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I took some photos years ago of the Milky Way that I was happy with, where I kind of just propped it. It was like on a brick wall. I just propped the camera back and put like a rock underneath the lens so the camera was tilted upwards, and then I used the self timer, and I got a perfectly good photo of the Milky Way. Um, no, so this is M3 is a globular cluster. I forget the specifics on M3. One of them, one of the ones I was looking at was it had. I mean, all the globular clusters are kind of interesting. M3 is. It was. Oops. M3. That's funny. When I searched for M3, it showed me information about BMW M3. That's not what I'm looking for. It is 90 light years in diameter. It's 34,000 light years away, and it's 11 billion years old. This globular cluster. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, the cameras will get better and better for the phones. Yeah, I mean, well, like that M23 Ultra had 200 megapixel photos. It's crazy. I mean, the main, like I know Apple and Android phones are able to do some interesting stuff where with not just the physical sensor, but also combining it with like kind of processing. I want to say AI, but not quite AI, but where it kind of combines, takes multiple quick exposures, kind of combines them, and ends up with like a much richer photo than you'd be able to take normally with a sensor that size. Um, and I've seen some interesting things where people have rigged their phones with extra, like sometimes you just need glass, like, but because the sensor is so small, you don't need a huge lens, but like where you have like little clip-on lenses. And I've seen some interesting, actually I've seen one where they had an adapter where you could put like full-size lenses on an iPhone. And then at that point, you know, you can take a photo of just about anything. Yeah. Anyone thinking about getting the Celestron Origin? Um, oh, that's interesting. I haven't actually seen what. So the Celestron Origin, for people who don't know, it's their personal observatory, kind of like their take on a smart telescope, but it's a 6 inch. It has a higher resolution camera, a 6 inch reflector, and it's like $4,000, I think. Um, and it the Seestar has some things that it doesn't have. At least it didn't when I looked at it. It like the Seestar has the light pollution filter built in, and it can swap it in and out automatically or manually. But it's not a extra physical. It's not an extra part you have to like uh, attach to the camera. Sorry, it's getting late, and I'm like, or not late, but my brain's skipping. Um, but yeah, so the Celestron Origin, it's a neat. So on paper, it looks a lot more capable, but I hadn't actually seen anything from people who've gotten their hands on one. And so Marco 81 said, the image is really so far not much better than what you can get after post processing with a Seestar. Yeah, so the Seestar is 2 inch, 50 millimeter 2 inch diameter refractor, and the Celestron Origin is a 6 inch. So on paper, it should be 9 times less than that because of the central obstruction. So it should be able to collect that much data. That where I could see it on paper being better, besides the extra megapixels, is because it's bigger. It should be able to get the same photo more quickly than the Seestar. Like you could do it with the Seestar. It just takes longer. Yeah, I mean, if I had if if somebody lent me one, I wouldn't turn it down. um, but would I buy a Celestron Origin? I think there's other things I would probably buy before that, or I would probably assemble something myself. Like, I mean, I guess my concern is it's a lot. It looks technically it looks very impressive. The problem, and I know they said that you can upgrade the sensor, like they built it so you could upgrade it. My concern is still like you're spending $4,000 on something that it's a smart telescope, but you can't use it visually, and then you have to spend more money if you want to upgrade it. Like you kind of, it's take it or leave it. You have to take the whole thing, and it's physically like you lose some of the advantages of the Seestar. I mean, you gain some things, but you also lose some things, like the extreme compactness of the Seestar and how quick it is to set up. I feel it would take longer to set up the Origin, because it's just physically bigger. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably get two $2,000 telescopes before I'd get one 4,000. Or get an ASI Air, a nice Astro camera. Well, not like $1,000 Astro camera, a couple grand on a telescope, and you're still ahead of the game. So I don't know. I would almost want to assemble it myself, with like kind of pick pieces, and I'd end up with a bigger telescope with computer control. And so I'm like, I don't know. And if it's not producing like if the images aren't like drastically different, then I don't know. I was thinking of getting the Solstron Origin, but I fear the TSA would question if it's a bomb. Yeah, it's. I mean, it is funny. I've carried a lot of stuff through. I've carried a lot of a variety of electronics through security checkpoints, and it is. I always I expect to be stopped more often because of what I see on the X-ray machine. Um, yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah. Um, so this is seems to be going well. The I wonder if there's something else I can take a photo of. There was one thing that while it was briefly clear last night, I tried that I'm not going to try again because it was like that last galaxy where my sky's too bright right now, or the sky here is just too bright. So um, let me pull up. I keep doing that. I was trying to get some stuff in Markarian's chain, which is a series of galaxies in Virgo, but they were all so faint. It was really hard. I mean, the exposure was long and the results were kind of eh. So I'm going to try it again when it's darker. Um, so some of these are things that I captured way before the eclipse. Um, but yeah, like this NGC 4216, there was a supernova in that one, and that. But then when I looked at it again a few weeks later, it had already started fading, and I was thinking about circling back and taking some photos of it again, but didn't get to it. Let me see what it says current best tonight. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, Hachi said that appreciate the sharing. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, I appreciate everybody who's here right now, and of course, like and subscribe, and if you want to become a member or something, I still haven't done much with it, as much as I would like. I do send messages to people who are kind of either email subscribers or Patreon or YouTube members, and there's stuff I share just like with that because like sometimes I take things that aren't necessarily a fully developed video or some photos or something, and I share them kind of more casually with supporters. So if you want to join, if you want to do that, I would appreciate. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything. I appreciate the you spending the evening here tonight while I'm struggling to try to find something that isn't completely washed out in the sky. See, like this owl nebula, planetary, and it's to the see. My sky is so difficult. That's the other reason I wanted to get in a car and go camp somewhere darker. Is it's not just the darkness. It's not just the cloudiness. It's also that I I can't see things lower than like 40 degrees above the horizon in almost any direction from my house. Some certain directions, the object has to be like 50 degrees above the horizon before I can even see it, because like there's buildings in the way. It's very difficult. It's like impossible to image a single target for more than like a couple hours, I think, before I have a building. Just returned my Seestar S50 and ordered a Vespera to really want the wider field of view. Yeah, I understand that. That's if there's a few things I would like to be different with the Seestar. Um, it's a trade-off, you know. Like on the one hand, you can't capture certain things because the field isn't wide enough. But then there's other times where I would like it to be a little bit more zoomed in, like some of these galaxy targets. And I'm not even talking about like particularly crazy galaxies, but like even that M101, you know, it would be nice if it was just a little bit more zoomed in. But you know, what can you do? But I do understand, like, especially if what you're interested in, if the Seestar doesn't kind of match that field of view, I totally, I get that. Which is another reason why I think I'd have a problem with the Celestron Origin, because it does have a much wider field of view, but it's also a lot more expensive. I'd almost rather split that between two different, like maybe one, like if I had $4,000, I would get one, maybe I'd get one astro camera and two telescopes, one for more, with more reach for like smaller targets, and then a wider field one. So like maybe a refractor and a reflector, like an SCT maybe for the reach, and then a refractor, a low, relatively low, you know, like a red cat. I mean, I have a refractor that's like in that range. But yeah, that's what I would do probably personally. But I mean, the good thing is I mean, the positive thing about the Seestar and the other smart telescopes, including the Celestron Origin, is the reduced friction on the whole process. If you set it up, pull out your app, tell it to go to a target, and it deals with most of the details. So, whereas if you roll your own, I mean, again, you get an ASI error, you get some of that. So, oh yeah, taking photos of the eclipse, I saw the spots, thought it was dust on the camera, and realized it was sunspots. Yeah, I could see that. Because yeah, it looks very similar on the lens, and that's and sometimes sunspots can be shockingly prominent, like bigger than you would expect them to be. But yeah. Oh yeah, thought you cracked it. Yeah. 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 High bidder. I think it would be great if ZWO would build a Seestar Deep Sky and Planetary Smart Scope. Yeah, I do wonder what would a Seestar, because it's Seestar S50. So like it's a 50 millimeter. So the fact they named it that, it would be easy for them to just have other products. And ZWO does make refractors. Granted, they're more traditional refractors, but it does seem like it would be relatively easy for them to, even like from a marketing point of view, and to just come out with other models. And given that there's other companies that have smart telescopes with different characteristics, I think it would make sense. It would make sense for them to like start filling out the product line. And I'm sure if they built the right kind of telescope, like I could see it, you know, if it hit a certain, especially like a wide field one, I could see that really kind of selling well. maybe with a slightly larger lens. Hmm. Yeah, maybe like slightly faster, wider field of view. Yeah, maybe slightly higher megapixel sensor. Could be. I mean, if the price was comparable, I'd probably pick one up. Yeah. Oh, all in one. Well, are you talking about a single scope that does both? Because I was thinking about, like, what was it? Ascar has a refractor with uh, kind of interchangeable pieces where you can kind of change how fast it is and the like you can, like, it's got like a couple lenses and flatteners and and reducers and stuff, and so you can get like 6 different focal lengths out of it, out of the kit. I could see, and you can make zooms. I mean, that's one thing I was thinking about. Like, as happy as I was with the video I got with my the video of the eclipse I got, I was kind of noticing how it wasn't an apples to apples comparison, but how the images had turned out with the Sigma lens, the Sigma Canon mount lens I had when I had also taken photos of an eclipse, and just some of the flaring and stuff from the refractor. And it's a good refractor, but like some of the camera lenses are actually quite nice. They're heavy, but they have good optical characteristics, and I do think that they could make something, maybe not an automatic zoom, but yeah, something with maybe an interchangeable like front lens element, and then it reconfigures itself, and so you can get both wide and more telephoto, or a reducer or something. I'm sure they could do something, but that would be cool. Even if it was more expensive, like if it was $1,000, but it was 2 telescopes in one, there would be a market for that, I imagine. Um, yeah, the moon doesn't help much tonight, so no matter where you are, faint galaxy moon glow or bad mix. Milky Way core comes out way in the early morning for the night owls. Yeah, I'm not going to be up that late tonight, unfortunately. And I don't. There have been times where I think, oh, I'll just get up like a couple hours before sunrise, but that never happens. Yeah. Yeah. Seestar is a great deal. Just with mosaic mode, I would have kept it. Yeah, I know. That's I hear that from a lot of people. Not that they got rid of theirs, but that they would really like to see a mosaic mode. And that's they've they've talked about it. They've mentioned it, that they would like to do it, but I don't know where that stands on their roadmap. Maybe this year they'll come out with it, and we'll see. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. The eclipse is yeah, the eclipse, it's definitely kind of a social. I like this, the kind of the shared experience of it. Um, so Marco mentioned developing computer software to be able to schedule and automate observations, do mosaics. You know, so there was a guy who he was like coming up with an ASCOM driver for the Seestar. Like Seestar, I'd seen they said they weren't coming out with, or it wasn't on their roadmap, but he had kind of developed one himself and was able to control it from like Stellarium. And I think I may have sent him a message saying I'll help you test it out. But I think with that, it wouldn't be perfect, but I think it would be pretty awesome. Like I think with multiple, yeah, I agree, with multiple Seestars and some like control software, and just have it automatically taking like a mosaic of like Markarian's chain, or some part of the Milky Way, or like the Orion complex, the nebula complex, and Orion, Bernard's loop and stuff. I think that would be incredible, and it would be very cost effective. Um, yeah, I hope Mosaic mode comes out soon. Um, oh, okay, okay. Uh, oh yeah. Hi, Paulette. I've seen your, yeah. Yeah, doing this. Yeah, the problem is I do want to do this. If we had clear weather, I would probably do these kind of streams every once a week, every other week. I do it fairly regularly, but the weather has just not cooperated at all. So that's why this was kind of like spur of the moment um, thing. Um, oops, sorry, that was loud. I'm sure. Um, Army of Sea Stars doing mosaics and capturing lights. Much that would be that would be interesting. That would be really cool. Um, I think I'd like to. That would be nice. But that's the one thing that I do find interesting. Um, there's definitely some people who are tinkering with the sea stars. They're definitely people modifying things and stuff. So I feel like that's going to be. I didn't talk about it on one of my videos, but there's people who've I haven't followed it that much, but I know people have rooted their jailbroke their sea stars, like, and then they fix that that way of doing it in the firmware update. But at one point, I know it was possible, and people got into the Seestar and they installed stuff locally and were able to like modify some things. But it is interesting. I feel like there's um, I mean, it's interesting. It's a smart telescope. It's got the computer. It's got a lot of potential. The software is good, but people are going to want to tinker. You know, there's people who want to tinker, and like with the mosaic, if Seestar doesn't, if they don't come out with the mosaic mode, the like that person who's coming out with the ASCOM driver, I have a feeling like people will just write it themselves. Um, um, do you think they'll raise the price of the Seestar now that it's popular? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, on the other hand, you know, there is competition. Like there's other companies who are producing smart telescopes. So I think they're kind of I think they'd be I don't know that they'll be raising the price. I mean, I do feel like it's a good value for what it is, but I don't know. It's possible. Then again, as they make more of them and sell more of them, their cost of production should go down, so they should, like, theoretically it would become more profitable over time. Um, but yeah, yeah, I hope not. I want to say it used to be cheaper when, like, they had may have had an early deal, like in the beginning, but it was before I ordered mine, so I'm not sure. Trying to finish up some of my cold dinner. Yeah, I don't know if they'll raise the price or not. I won't make predictions. And I do wonder, besides, like, I mean, it appears a lot of people have bought the Seestar. Um, but is it is it going to Like, what are they going to do next? Are they going to come out with a different kind of telescope? Something that's either bigger or wider field or more, more telephoto? Or are they going to just come out with like a Seestar S50, Mark II that has like maybe more storage and better, more megapixels? I don't know. The Seestar is just a stepping stone. Much more to come from ZWO. Yeah, I mean, like it looks like they kind of set up Seestar as kind of like a separate brand with a separate website. Like it'll be interesting because like they have the ASI Air. I mean, like for the discrete components, they have the cameras, they have refractors. I've heard more about the refractors recently. I than I had been hearing about them. And then they have like the ASI Air, and then they announced recently that what is it? M I forget the part model number, but basically it's an Astro camera, and it has the ASI Air built into it, and it's the same price as the previous Astro camera was. So it's like a $2,000 Astro camera that has a built-in uh, um, a built-in guide camera in the kind of the in the package, and so you don't have to have a separate guide scope. And so that was $2,000, and now came out with one that has an ASI Air built into it. So theoretically, you could get a telescope, put this thing on it, and plug it into the mount, and you'd basically turn a mount and telescope into like a smart telescope with that one thing, theoretically. Um, but that's a higher end thing. Obviously, it's $2,000 just for the camera and ASI, the air part of it built in. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's definitely, the market's definitely heading more towards the automation and computerization of it, and like this is kind of, I wouldn't be surprised if they start coming out with, like, is that their high end product that's going to be kind of comparable to the Seestar, or is it? I don't know. It'll be interesting. I have a feeling there'll be more stuff coming out in the next year or so. P42. If I have a light pollution filter and a dual band, um, I mean, is it, if I have a, so Joshua Lopez asked about um, a light pollution filter and a dual band. Is it worth having both, or is there a time when you should use one over the other? I mean, I guess it's, I mean, I, I guess it depends. Like, I know there are people who have both. I know, like, if you have like a narrow band filter, like I've thought about getting a narrow band filter. I don't actually have one. I've thought about getting one, and getting one of the adapters for the Seestar, so I could try using that. Um, I guess, like theoretically, if you have severe light pollution, it could help, or with certain targets, it might help the signal to noise ratio to have the narrow band, a dual narrow band filter. Um, I, it's kind of like how sometimes you don't use a filter at all, like with this globular cluster. I'm not using it. I mean, it's the Seestar isn't using a filter at all. Um, but yeah, I mean, I could see both being useful. And I guess it would depend also on like what camera I was using it on. On the I'd kind of gone back and forth on the Seestar because it is only a 2 megapixel sensor. Like, I'm not sure if I and it's a 2 inch. I guess in my situation, I'm not sure if it would how much it would help me. Um, in other words, it would help from the light pollution, but it would also greatly reduce the amount of light hitting the sensor. Limited to those 2 bands. So I don't know how that would actually shake out, especially given how difficult the imaging conditions are where I live. Just as far as I don't have much time to image things. Um, do you know much? Do you know much about publishing? I've published a couple of my photos I took, but then next time. Which community are you talking? Oh, are you talking about the Seestar? Like community or something else? And then Marco says, I would gladly buy a larger, more capable version of a Seestar. Yeah, I think so. I would too. I mean, so long as it wasn't like something below the Solstron Origin, but above the Seestar. I ended up, I mean, I own two Seestars actually. It was because I pre-ordered them when there was like a multi-month wait, and I ordered them from two different companies, hoping that one would show up, like whichever showed up first, I would keep, and they both shipped like almost at the same time. So I didn't bother returning it. Um, and sometimes I use both of them, but the software sometimes, like I have an Android tablet, and what I need to do is kind of have my iPhone driving one and my Android driving the other. Although if somebody came out with had like the ASCOM driver, if I could drive multiple Seestars simultaneously, I'd use them every night or both every night. Um, yeah, the same concept of portability, easy use, and quality. A $2,000 Seestar. Yeah, maybe. I mean, for me, I could see the value for a lot of people of a $2,000 Seestar because by the time you add all the, I mean, like there's so many different things you can do to rapidly approach that. And if they had a nicely integrated solution that was very portable, but yet like 3 times more capable than the S50, yeah, I think people would do that. Oh, 12p. Yeah, I haven't. Um, I did not try 12p, and I don't think it's visible right now. At least not from where I live. And that's the problem. I can't image comets usually from my house because too many buildings. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm. Joshua said, I appreciate taking time to answer all of us. I mean, I'm just I'm trying to get some observing time in here, and it staring at my phone while the images accumulate. Uh, I'm not doing anything constructive, so I might as well answer questions. Um, so the Seestar, the community, I've posted stuff there, and I haven't seen it disappear, but I have been logged out of the app a few times. Like when I opened it earlier today, I'd been logged out. Um, and every time I log back in with the same email, I see the photos, but I haven't logged in today. And it's probably was before the eclipse last time I logged in. Um, yeah. Yeah. It's hard because the comet's following the sun. Yeah. And like I said, where I live, I can't see anything uh, closer than like 40 degrees to the horizon, especially near sunrise or sunset. So we're coming up on almost half an hour with this. Oh, that's fully zoomed out, so that's nice. It's not too bad. I think I could process this and maybe sharpen it up a little bit, and then combine it with some of the other stuff I've taken photos of. I don't know. I'm debating, should I try to do one more thing? I'm not sure. maybe another. Oh, let me look at my list. I have a list. Um, I try to keep a list of targets of things I want to image, and some of them are. It's another reason why I want to go to a darker sky. Some of them are definitely dark sky targets. Um, I mean, targets you would want to take at a dark sky. Okay, Leo Triplet. Oh, see, that was no. That's him. There's a few targets in here. I looked it up and I looked them up in Stellarium, and from where I live, I could probably take a photo if it wasn't the full moon, or almost the full moon. But it would take forever. Yeah, I really want to image some of those, but not. Sorry, I'm just looking through my list of targets. Yeah, see, the problem is like some of these galaxies have just been. So any smart telescope you know of that has an equatorial mount and polar lines. Not, I don't, there might, I need to stop doing that, sorry. There might be one, but I can't remember which one it was. But all the other ones I know of are alt azimuth. That said, you could kind of roll your own, you know, like I've thought about doing this, you know, getting a go-to mount, a refractor, ZWO camera, and an ASI Air, and you get the smartphone kind of driven experience, and it's with a polar aligned setup. But I swear there was one I had run across that wasn't like one of the bigger ones, or I had never heard of it before, but I'm drawing a blank now, and I don't even remember if it was or not. Yeah. Let me see let me if I go look at the comets. So Pons, Brooks. See, it's almost not visible at all now, at least from where I live, because the sun sets here at 8 p.m. So it's visible just a little bit, like barely, after like right after sunset, and then the sun rises here at 7, so it's already, it doesn't rise until after sunrise here, so it would be in the evening, like immediately after sunset. And that you would have to have like a very flat, unobstructed view of the horizon. Archie booking agent, I gave up and took your advice and just imaged M42. I got narrowband filter, printed some adapter and created heated lens hood. But Boston is, yeah, Boston's, all U.S. cities are terrible from a light pollution point of view. M4565. Let's see. It's worth a shot. But I mean, the problem I have, again, it whether or not it's close to the moon, if it's blocked by a building, I can kind of tell based on the elevation. So this is the final view, almost half an hour. Yeah, that looks nice. See the band of light up the middle. That's part of the issue I have in my air where I live. Just so much light pollution. But the good thing is a lot of that cleans up in Cyril, so I will be doing that this week. So I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to try 4565, or at least see what that looks like. NGC 4565. Oh. You know, sometimes that's going to be high. That's 82 degrees above the horizon. And I've run into issues where the Seestar it refuses to go to it if it's 80. So this is 82. Sorry, this is 82 degrees above the horizon, and I've had issues with the Seestar with objects 85 degrees above the horizon where it refuses to even go to them. So we'll see what happens with this. Although maybe this is near its peak in the sky, in which case maybe it'll be okay. But I've had issues where it starts running into tracking issues with things that are particularly high in the sky. Wow. For the eclipse, I took the Seestar and electric unicycle. Um, yeah. Yeah, I was in Maine. I was in Holton, Maine, right near the border with Canada. Um, so let's see what this does. Um, yeah, the Seestar, I mean, it's a perfect it's a perfect travel telescope. It really is. I mean, does it have trade-offs? Yeah, but are you going to get anything better that small? I don't think so. I mean, that small and that easy to travel with. The fact that really like everything you need fits in the case. Like it has the tripod, the telescope, solar filter, USB cable. Um, like you can charge it. Wow, it already failed on the first frame. That's not a good start. Yeah, Moosehead Lake. I wonder where that is relative to where I was, because I was, far. So next time I'm start sentences and then I stop in the middle of them. Next time I do a live stream, I will have a mechanism where I can share the screen, and like people's uh, people's messages, because I'm reading them on air, but it would be nice to also show them. Moosehead Lake. Well, that looks like a pretty area. Wow, that is remote. You were in a remote area. See, how was the traffic getting up there? How was the traffic getting up to yeah, I mean, so you recorded the whole thing in time lapse. Should have shot the beginning and end time lapse and actual thing on movie. Yeah, I mean, that said, the time lapse isn't bad. I mean, I didn't get any time lapse. I didn't get either for with my Seestar because I was mostly focused on the main video rig, and it was semi deliberate because I didn't want, since I was so focused on the one, I figured I didn't want to risk jostling the Seestar, and I knew I would get complete coverage, like the entirety of the partial phases, because I had started the time lapse just before first contact, and I actually stayed at the place we were at until after the last contact. So I got the entirety of the eclipse of all the partial phases on the Seestar as a time lapse, and so basically combining that with my other footage, I got what I wanted. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted a movie of totality, that would have been um, oh, okay. Shaved off a bit of the solar filter. Some other people, and I almost did this. Someone had mentioned getting like a sheet of solar film and cutting it and attaching it with painter's tape, and I almost did that on mine. But I again, it was, if I would have stayed in Texas, I would have had a couple extra days of last minute kind of fabrication of stuff. But since I got on the road on the Friday before the eclipse, I didn't do that. So no traffic. Oh, right. Rode the unicycle on shoulder. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. That's an adventure. um, it's interesting because I looked at the map at that Moose Lake, um, uh, Moosehead Lake, and I actually had been looking at Jackman, Maine, which is off. Uh, it's kind of like towards Canada, kind of a different direction from where I ended up. But I ended up in Holton because I could take the interstate the whole way there, and I was a little concerned about some of the smaller remote roads. Um, wow, this is struggling, and I wonder if it's struggling because it's so high in the sky here. And I've had this happen before. See, look, it's like it's trying to take an exposure and the stars are moving. I've had that where it's like it won't track. Like it ends up having a like total tracking failure. Let me stop it. Sometimes I've been able to fix it by like stopping it and then trying again. So let's see if that works. But yeah, that's interesting. That's quite an adventure. Um, okay, sorry, I'm behind on my. Yeah. Not Hachi's biggest regret is not getting the diamond ring and Bailey's beads. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was, I had my own failures during the eclipse as well. Um, and I've gotten photos of the Bailey's beads and diamond ring before. And the problem is exposures. It's kind of it's difficult, and that's why I had, as an experiment, done a computer controlled rig, uh, where I had my Canon camera plugged into a computer and some software driving it. I'll probably do that again. Okay. Um, Indy Speedway. Oh, nice. Joshua Lopez was at the Indy Speedway with a Sony A7 with 600 millimeter. That sounds like a great rig. Nice, nice. I'd love to see those photos from Joshua Lopez. That sounds great. Marco, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's. I'm gonna stop that. Um, Traffic was jammed near Memphis. Wow. Yeah. Um, Burlington. Yeah. Yeah, Burlington. I was originally I was thinking about Burlington, Vermont. But then it looked like it would have clouds, and so I ended up in Holton. And it was like 100% clear. Um, 26 degrees at night. Yeah. I spent the night in Manchester, New Hampshire, and when I got on the road, up to Maine, it was like, I think the coldest I saw in my car was like 26 degrees. A lot of people went to Jackman. See, that was what I was concerned about, is that that road didn't seem as big as the interstate I went on. And I got on the road really early at like 3 in the morning. Yeah. Yeah, Jackman will never have this many people ever. I was thinking, yeah, that's probably nice. Donald Walker got a video with a Seestar before totality and during totality. That's great. Um, oh, my phone not overheating. Um, I mean, it's inside, it's cool, and it's not really doing much. It's the telescope's doing all the stacking. So this is just kind of pulling the telescope and grabbing the latest image. So it's not really doing much. It's cold. So let me see if there's something else to look at. Yeah, see that's, oh yeah, it's almost 85 degrees above the horizon, and I've tried to go to things that high in the sky and it refused. It said, nope, too high. And see, like Bode's Galaxy M81 here, I'd love to go look at that, but I can't. It's blocked from my. Sorry, I do this half the time. I end up kind of going kind of the wrong way. Do I want to do another globular cluster? M53 might work. I know it's the same globular, but I mean it's another globular, but it'll give me a second to catch up on the chat. Upper Maine was windy. Yeah. Yeah. I made a template after the sun. Wow. Yeah, I mean I didn't have those kind of photos. I have some stuff that I still haven't processed because I'd have to go through. I'm going to do it eventually, but it's going to be. RG booking agent said said they had to spend a week manually aligning the frames. I also observed eclipse in Czech Republic in '99. That's cool. I saw that eclipse in Austria. Um, I was wanting to see it in Germany, but it was raining in Munich, and 15 minutes before totality, I think, I was still on the Autobahn. That was the craziest eclipse I've ever been to. A crab orchard near Carbondale, great skies. Yeah, that was actually, that's why I went to Memphis the night before. I mean, the Friday before the eclipse. I was hoping it would be nice there, and it looked like Carbondale might have been good at that point. But I didn't want to risk it, so I kept going. But in retrospect, I could have just stayed and hung out in Memphis for a couple of days. What happened? Oh, my screen locked again. Sorry about that. Like I'm watching the feed and it goes dead, and then I realize, oops. Okay. It's because the problem is I had it up in the app and I hadn't started imaging yet, and so the screen locked. But if I had started imaging, it won't lock the screen. Yeah, I had to ride all night and sleep by an EV charger. I I have yeah, I stuck to a gas car for that reason for this trip. um yeah. No, an amazing adventure. I That sounds like an amazing adventure. Um High bidder was 35 feet from my backyard screen porch. Totality 1 minute. That's nice. That's convenient. Even if it was a minute, that's still good. That's still good. Um, Cincinnati. Yeah. So south of Czech Republic. Yeah, I was basically, the weather forecasts weren't as good back in 99. I had a car. I ended up driving and barely, almost didn't see totality, but we missed the whole beginning of the eclipse, but we saw totality, which is all the main thing that matters. Um, and yeah, that was a crazy one. Um, so this is a small one. So someone mentioned the Sunflower Galaxy. Let me look up Sunflower. Sorry, I keep bouncing out of that. 4 minutes, 8 seconds. Yeah, where I was, because I was at the far end of the eclipse, like literally the far end within the United States. I think it was 3.5 where I was. But, um, oh, didn't I? Maybe I didn't. Let me. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop that globular because we already looked at a globular. Um, yeah. Someone, some, some people uh, ended up in a bar staring. Uh, yeah, yeah, that's cool. Uh, Hachi said the weirdest part was animals howling. A lot of pelicans flew over. Um, yeah, I noticed it on one of the photos I took, like right at the end of totality. Some birds like took off and were flying, and I wasn't really paying attention, but I heard some other people talking about how like some of the birds were quiet because it's like nighttime. They start thinking it's night. Yeah. Oh, so let's see. M63. Let's let's see. It's not too high in the sky. 74 degrees. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, this might be the last target for the evening for me. Not that it's too late, but it's just, I have to go get something to drink at some point. But I'm gonna let this image for a bit before I do anything. Yeah. Some people shot off fireworks. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Some people kind of go nuts. Actually, I think, did we see that? I want to say we saw some people shooting off fireworks in 2017, but I forget. Yeah. Um so Hachi bought some new equipment for the eclipse. I did as well. Um the pro- I bought some stuff in October or before October when we had the annular eclipse, but it was partial here in Houston. I didn't go anywhere for that eclipse, but it was still pretty. It was like 80% here, and so I bought some stuff before that, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. But then, as time kind of went along, I'm like, oh, I should, you know, I want to do this thing, and I want to do this thing, and kind of I reined myself in, but I did end up buying. Um, I didn't buy a new camera for the eclipse. I did buy a bunch of solar filters, and I did buy that a sun tracking mount. Um, but it was because I also had bought a solar telescope last year. Um, because I just wanted to kind of start messing around with that. And but yeah, it's saw 2017 in the same place. That's convenient. um, so this isn't as high in the sky as the last target was, so it might start having issues. But it's so far it's been able to get some data, so you can start to see the core of that galaxy. So that's cool. I'm not sure if I've imaged this before, I think, but I mean with my Seestar, but I think maybe not. So where I was right next to the Holton. I was on the property of the Holton airport, and there were a lot of planes taking off and landing. I mean, it's a small airport, kind of general aviation. There were some helicopters, some small like uh, business jet kind of jets. But luckily they stopped all that. Close to totality, it was like completely quiet. Because I was starting to worry during the partial phases. I'm like, I hope it's not this way the whole time. Uh, but yeah, yeah, the annular eclipse. I didn't see the annular. I mean, I didn't see that. I've been, I've seen the part. I've seen there's two annular eclipses where I only saw it as partial. Like I didn't go to where it was annular. One day I might, but I didn't. I hadn't the previous two times. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. A lot of the yeah, some of the telescopes. Um, yeah, like I actually thought about buying kind of relatively inexpensive, like one of the travel telescopes. I didn't end up doing that, but yeah, the problem is, you know, yeah, yeah, the stock eyepieces aren't necessarily very good and stuff, and so you end up spending a lot of money kind of replacing things. Um, yeah, the trip is what got me into astronomy, and the black hole taking over my wallet. Yeah, it's definitely something. I mean, I try to keep it somewhat under control, but it's there's so much one can do. Um, yeah. But yeah, there's going to be some more eclipses. I mean, there's always eclipses, but there's going to be ones. Most the ones in upcoming years are not in the U.S., but there will be one. There'll be a partial, like in 2029, I think, up in Montana. Like totality might be over Canada or something, or maybe it's annular. Um, and then there's some total eclipse that goes over Alaska in the 2030s. I mean, the problem is with eclipses is you know the dates like decades, centuries ahead of time. Uh, so what I've done in the past is I kind of would look at upcoming eclipses for the next 20 years and just try to find places where you know that aren't like too remote and easy enough to get to. So that's how I ended up in Europe in 1999. It was just kind of like, yeah, I'll combine it with a vacation in Europe, which is what I did. Um, May 1994. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, there was yeah, first partial eclipse I ever saw was in 83 or 84. Um, but it was just a partial. I mean, in Houston. Um, yeah, the video in 2017. Yeah, that was one of the things where, kind of, as I was preparing for some of the videos I made on to try to help other people think about the eclipse, I was looking at photos I took, but also just stuff we had captured on our cell phones. And yeah, they were like, I think it was like an iPhone 6. Is that right? In 2017, whatever it is, like, yeah, the quality I shot this year with my cell phone was just infinitely better. But like, it still captured the moment, and it captured more than I would have thought it would have captured. Like the video we took of kind of, totality, just kind of environmental photos, um, or environmental video, was actually better than I would have. Going back and looking at it, it wasn't bad. And some of it isn't as good, but like some of the defects you can clean up a bit with modern software. Like I was able to clean up some of the noise in some of the older photos and video, and I was able to stabilize some of it. And so I was able to, it still wasn't like the new footage, but it made it a bit better. And that was kind of cool going through that exercise and cleaning up some of the old stuff. Um, yeah. Yeah, I mean there was the S50, the Seestar S50 was good. My other the rig I did the main video on, um at some point I might not even do a video about it. I might do like a blog post or something about it, cuz I don't know how generally interesting it is, but I want to document it for posterity. Like basically I had a refractor, like a 75 millimeter refractor, and then I had this camera set up on it, and it's not even like it's a video camera. It's not a stills camera it's not a stills camera that can also do video. It's a video camera. And I had that kind of mount. It's a micro four thirds mount, and so I had that mounted on a T adapter and kind of hanging off it, and it's very heavy, and it's got like a cage on it, and the whole thing was like on the ragged edge of how much the mount could even handle. I mean, it was just a Star Adventure GTI mount, so it can handle 11 pounds. I think I had 11 pounds on it. Um, I mean, the good thing is it was pretty stable. It wasn't shaking a lot from the wind because it was kind of heavy for what it. Um, oh yeah, see, look at this. I mean, well, that was zoomed in a little bit, but it's starting to. You're starting to see some more of the galaxy core. Well, that was good. Thanks for suggesting that M63. Um, wow, 1970 partial. Yeah, no, I didn't see that one. I was, yeah, no. Um, that's cool. 1970. Wait, there was a total eclipse that year that was supposedly very good. Solar eclipse at sunset. That would be interesting. I've seen some photos of solar eclipses at sunset, and I imagine it would be really amazing to see that. Um, um, Yeah, this is so what I've done with some of these other galaxies I've been imaging, and why it's been so incredibly frustrating, um, the cloudiness is I'll take like half hour worth of exposures, of a half hour exposure on multiple nights, until I have 2 or 3 hours of exposures, and I'll run it through Cyril, run some enhancements and stuff, and I've been quite happy with some of those I've done it with. But now that we're kind of in like, you know, mid spring, there's a different set of things in the sky uh, in the evening, and I'm just not able to get enough exposures to really be able to do what I want to do. Because this looks like a good sized target. So this is what it would look like in the frame. So yeah, 13 years old. That'd be cool. Get a reflection. Yeah, the first total solar eclipse I saw was in 1991. That one was cool. But I do want to see. I don't know which one of the ones, or if all of them or none of them, but 2027 in Iceland, Atlantic into Spain, and I think it'll be near sunset in Spain. 2028. No, that's 2026. 2027 is going to be the one that I really, really want to see if I can pull it off. It's it goes through like the Straits of Gibraltar and into northern Africa, but it's going to be more than a 6 minute long eclipse, and that's going to be like the longest for the rest of the century. It's the longest eclipse. Um, the previous eclipse in that cycle in 2009 was slightly longer, a few seconds longer. But 2027 would be the one. If there was one eclipse where you could travel internationally and see it, that would probably be it. In the next few decades, that would be the one to see. Just because I think going through that area in Egypt, it would be potentially spectacular. Of course, logistically, it's more challenging. Not impossible. I mean, it's going to be in areas where there's tour, you know, you can get to it. Just not necessarily, maybe slightly more expensive than the average package holiday. But then 2028, there's one that goes right across Australia, which also would be, it's also going to be like 5 minutes long at its longest. So that one's actually going to be pretty spectacular. But again, you have to get to Australia. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments while it's um yeah. Yeah, I mean the problem, well, I shouldn't say the problem. So I saw a partial eclipse, and then in the 80s, and I resolved that I wanted, there was that one in 91 that was going to be in Hawaii and Mexico, and I was like, I saw it as kind of an excuse to go to Hawaii. um and I ended up in Mexico, but I wasn't like some of the people where when they see a total eclipse, like they end up like seeing 20 of them. But it was enough of an experience where I kind of wanted to see more. Um, but yeah. Um, no. Did you see the transit of Venus? Unfortunately, no. I did not. And I'm a little annoyed, more than a little annoyed at myself about that. But that's another conversation for another day, maybe. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So it's one of those dishes where, it has like, these peppers and they're seeds, and every once in a while you get a seed, and it's like, wow, ouch. But I love hot food, so I can't stop. That's awesome. That would be, yeah, I'm kind of annoyed I didn't see the transit, but oh well. Um, when was the transit of Venus? Transits of Venus are a lot easier to, I mean, they happen more often, so. Sorry. I'm trying to keep the mic far enough away that I don't get too much chewing noise on it. Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's like I say, I'm kind of annoyed at myself, and I don't think I'll be around for the next one, which is in 2117. So, yeah, oh well. But that's awesome. I would have loved to have seen that, but I've seen photos of it. It looks really spectacular, the transit. Yeah, next one will be in 2117. Yeah, I won't be. I mean, maybe I'll request that I be frozen and revived in 21. Oh, yeah, but so it's up to 9 minutes. I might let this one go till 15, 20 minutes of exposure, and then maybe I'll stop it and call it a night. Um, Pac-Man. What's a Pac-Man? Oh God. 2032 transit of Mercury. Yeah, I mean, I think when I realized I had missed the transits of Venus, I consoled myself that I'm like, well, I'll try to catch transit of Mercury. Yeah. I mean, 2032 isn't that far away. Um, I mean, it's kind of disturbing, but uh, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, yeah. I mean, the traffic was yeah. In 2017, we kind of lucked out. We ended up in Casper, Wyoming, and we slept in the Walmart parking lot that night, the night before the eclipse, and uh, but we were able to get a hotel room in Casper that evening because everybody left, and so we didn't. When we left the next day, there was no traffic, so that was nice. I would have liked to have done that this time, but there weren't many hotels in Holton, Maine, so I had to drive back down to Portland, which was like 5 hours, and there was a lot of traffic. But wasn't it wasn't. I heard from someone else that they had spent a lot more time in traffic, um, so I didn't feel too bad about how long it took me to get back. Um, but that's always the problem. Like it was a trade off. Oh, Guernsey, Wyoming. It's a trade off because like um, on the one hand you have the traffic. Well, on the one hand you have the luxury, the convenient, the opportunity to be able to drive, um, which you don't always. Like in '91, I ended up just kind of lucking out because I ended up in Mexico, and Mexico was good, and it was actually closer to where the peak eclipse was. But there were my original choice, or what I had originally planned, but I never booked anything, was to go to Hawaii, and it ended up raining in Honolulu. And like you're in Hawaii, you have like if and the forecasts weren't that good, but if they were good, like if they were better like they are today, like you're still kind of stuck. You're sitting in the middle of the Pacific, or not in the middle of the Pacific, but you're out in the Pacific. Like you can't just drive a few hundred miles. That's why I've always thought it was kind of intriguing. The first time I heard about eclipse cruises, those I heard about those back in the early '90s, I think, and that was very intriguing to me. It's still intriguing to me because, like, it gives you the convenience, or it gives you more certainty about being on the center line and having clear skies without really having to do anything. Like you're just sitting on a cruise ship, and they're just kind of driving it, piloting it to the right area. Um, that I've maybe one day, maybe one day I'll do that. But I've thought about that just from a not having to deal with stuff. Um, okay, there's a comment in later in the year. I'll have to check that out. But again, I'll have to look at it from somewhere not where I live. um, yeah, I'm behind on the chat. Yeah, I had 20. I thought 2024 was a long way out from 2017. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in 1984, I knew about 91 and 99. Like I resolved back in 84 that I would go to those two eclipses, and I did. Um, but yeah, that's why it's it seems far away, and then suddenly, before you know it, it's there. Like I knew about 2024 and 2017. I knew about it before then, but like at 2020. at 2017 you're like, oh, it's 7 years away, but it's like, oh, it's 7 years away, and then suddenly it's like here. Yeah, it was just, it's weird. Um, yeah, yeah. I So that's why I guess I'm intrigued by the possibility of the 2027 eclipse. As far as it, if I can get to Egypt, got to start saving my pennies now. Um, if I could get to Egypt and um, I mean, I would do it on the cheap, but as cheap as I could. Um, like when I've traveled places, I ended up sleeping in cars, so I wouldn't have to pay inflated hotel prices. Don't know that I'd be able to do that in Egypt, but um, but yeah, I like that one's interesting. But like, if the weather happens to be cloudy, I don't know how you would recover from that. Whereas in Australia in 2028, like, even though it goes through the outback, it's not. I may or may not have already looked at the maps. It seems like it would be doable, that you could kind of get around if you need to. Um, yeah, yeah, partial lunar eclipse. It would be nice. Like there was an lunar eclipse um a month ago, but it was what is it, a penumbral? It was a faint one, so I was busy and it might have been cloudy, and I was like, I I didn't end up looking at it, but if there's another one later this year, that would be cool. Yeah, the next America eclipse will all be living forever thanks to AI, or AI will delete us all. Yeah, or it'll just simulate it for us or something. I don't know. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, if you're willing to travel, um, like I was trying to convince my mom. She's in her later 70s. She didn't end up going with me this time, but I'm 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 trying to convince her maybe to go to Spain. I mean, we went to Europe years ago, so um uh but yeah, I mean, you never know. But that's good. I mean, seeing two total solar eclipses is a lot more than most people see. Cuz for given location on Earth, like I think on average you have to wait well over 100 years to see a total solar eclipse at a specific location. I think it's like a few hundred years. So the fact you were able to see two is better than a lot of people will do. Um, and yeah, I've and then there's the people who are like crazy, extremely obsessed and end up seeing lots of them. And even then, that could be, like you end up going to Alaska. Okay, magical wing. Yeah, good night. Thank you for joining. Um, thanks for joining. I'm probably gonna wrap up here in next 5-10 minutes probably. Well, 5 or 10 minutes of captured data. We'll see how long that actually takes. But thanks for joining. Um, but yeah, let me see. Yeah, this is turning out. This is turning out nice. like you can see the core, and you can see some of the more extended parts of the galaxy. And oh man, I think if I'm able to image this a few more times on subsequent nights, like if I could get, you know, if I get 20 minutes tonight, and if I can do this 2 or 3 more times, over an hour of data, you can really start seeing more detail then. I mean, that's one of the things that I've been trying to do, and I want to do more of, is just, especially as the year goes on, is just seeing how far I can push things with the Seestar. Like I have some ideas, and they might be topics for, they might literally be an entire video, but about some things I want to try to image. Because I had talked about it in a live stream. There was like, I had taken some photos of some galaxies, and with the Seestar in my badly light polluted backyard, and it was like an hour long exposure, and I saw this faint little star, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and it was a more distant galaxy that was almost like a billion light years away, which I thought was kind of cool, just conceptually, that this little smart telescope, just that I kind of plunked down in my backyard, I was able to image without any work this billion light year galaxy. I mean, it just looked like a star, but it was a galaxy. And so it's kind of gotten this uh, idea in my head that I want to try to do more of that, of like just trying to push things. And now that there's like more galaxies visible, and also the Milky Way uh, core, I want to try to. I have a few ideas on some things I want to do, but I just need clear skies for it. Just, which has been such a challenge recently. Um, yeah. So one thing. What was I looking for? Oh, nice. Wow. Thank, thanks. Thanks for everybody so far. I mean, I'm not shutting it off right now, but I just was looking at the stats. I thank you for everybody who's joined tonight, and been on this, um, and if you have other suggestions, and the next time I do this, like for other targets to look at, I do. The suggestions are very helpful. um, see. Not a supernova, but a nova, I think. Um, yeah, yeah. Thanks, Marco, 81MX. Thank you for joining. And yeah, like I say, uh, depending on clear skies. But one thing I've been thinking about, or I'm planning on doing, is if I do go somewhere, I will definitely live stream. So, or assuming I have coverage. But if I go like camping somewhere, I do actually plan to live stream from there. Because I think it might be cool. Um, oh yeah, California. I usually stay up pretty late anyway. I think I usually it's I'm in Central Time, so it's just after midnight here. But I'm usually up till 1 or 2 in the morning anyway. So, yeah, it was a nova. Because supernovas aren't aren't as. But yeah, I forget what that was. I saw something about it, but I didn't. Uh, I was intrigued by it, and I want to see it or keep an eye out for it. Um, of course, I can't find it now. Um, what was it? I'll have to look for it, but thanks for mentioning that, because yeah, that. Thank you. Sorry. Um, oh, it's a blaze star, recurrent nova. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by those things, and I think that's one of the other things that has. It's one of the things that's very. It's definitely excited me about the Seestar in general. Is that since even if I have like an hour or two of clear skies, like with other telescopes I've had over the years, I wouldn't bother most of the time unless there was something very specific. I wouldn't bother if I only had an hour or two of clear skies in an evening. But with the Seestar, I just throw it outside. I'm like, I look at the weather, and I'm like, I got 2 or 3 hours, and I turn it on, put it in the backyard, and I start looking at stuff. So these kind of like things in the past I wouldn't have necessarily looked for, or because like you have to be looking that specific night, or even if it's visible on multiple nights, it has to be clear. And if you only have a narrow window, by the time you get set up and stuff, you might run out of clear skies. That kind of stuff is kind of exciting to me. And like the supernovas, I've taken photos of 2 or 3 supernovas so far, and I don't think I had ever taken a photo of a supernova before, because it's so easy now. I like look at on this website where they have like the currently known supernova, and it's sorted by magnitude, and so you just find the NGC galaxy number and just plug it in, and like it makes it easy. But it's cool. It's very cool. But yeah, so this star is expected to have an outburst this year. Oh wow. So it's normally the 10th magnitude, which is way too dim to be visible to your eye, but you could see it through binoculars, maybe like at the limit, but it can become visible like second magnitude, third magnitude. Wow. Yeah, so I guess based on previous cycles, it will likely erupt between this month and September. So something to keep an eye out for, because that could be cool. Yeah, yeah. Actually, that let me look this up. I don't. Oh, we're already up to 20 minutes, but I'm going to keep it going while I look for this. Oh, that's funny. I thought I had a supernova, but it trashed me in the quarter mile away. Yeah, I think you're talking about. Yeah. Um, yeah. So there's this this meme being what Hachimitsu said. Um, the T cor, having a hard time typing. Nope. Actually, let me just go back to here. And so basically there's this this star, which is a recurrent, it has recurrent nova, and based on some patterns of outbursts it's had recently-ish, it would kind of indicate a nova between now and September. Yeah, I mean, with you know, it wouldn't surprise me if someone with a Seestar becomes the first person supernova in a distant galaxy soon. Honestly, like the one of the supernovas I looked at, or that I took a photo of, I think when it was discovered, it was, wait, what went? Oh man. Oh, sorry. It's late and I'm getting confused. Some anyway. I saw what magnitude that supernova was discovered at. Like when I took a photo of it, it was brighter, but when it first got discovered, it was at such a magnitude that I think a Seestar might have been able to, like, it could have been enough, especially if you were in a place with dark skies. See, that's the intriguing thing. If like somebody automates, if they can, if we can come up with some automation, you know, like where you could have a few of them just kind of scanning the sky. So it seems feasible. There's a lot of galaxies out there. People aren't looking at every galaxy all the time. So, what was I going to look up? Oh, do I even have this running? I was going to look up where that star is. Oh, transit of, I don't, maybe not a transit, but a conjunction. Where they get close to each other, but one doesn't go over the other. I mean, it's possible. Like if Venus is within, but if Neptune is like beyond, like on the other side of the solar system, it could. No, but no, Venus wouldn't transit because Venus would appear bigger than Neptune. Oh. What am I looking up? I'm, like I say, next time I definitely need to have this set up where I can actually share my laptop, because this has been kind of a little frustrating at times. On the whole, it hasn't, but there have been a few times. Okay, let's look up that. Where is that star? It's in Corona Borealis. Let me. I mean, that's the only downside is this. I shouldn't say the only downside. The Seestar apps kind of it doesn't have everything in the. It's not a replacement for a complete planetarium app. Let me look this up. So it's next to Hercules. Okay. Okay. Something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, I am intrigued about that that nova. That would be very cool. Um, so I said I wanted to get at least 20 minutes, and now I have 25 minutes. So I think at this point it's probably diminishing returns, but you can definitely see kind of the definitely the core of the galaxy and kind of the wispy outer edges of it. So I think if I get a couple more nights like this, I think I'll be able to come up with some good image. And I do plan on um, doing a couple videos about processing galaxies because um, I mean some of it's similar, but I know it's a little different. Some of the same techniques, but it's a little different from processing nebula. So, um, but yeah, I think I'm probably gonna call it a night now. Um, I do appreciate everybody who joined here, and if you're watching this afterwards, thank you. Uh, Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And and sorry, I'm just looking at some stuff right now. Um, but yeah, I think I think yeah. So thanks for joining, and if anybody else, uh, if the weather is more predictable, or what, sorry, it's getting late, and I'm having a hard time phrasing. If I know it's going to be clear more than a day in advance, I'll try to actually schedule the live stream ahead of time, and so it's not just kind of like blasted out there. But I do appreciate that people joined. Yeah, Archie booking agent, thank you for the session. Have a good night. Good night to you too. Um, uh, yeah, Sky Safari. I need to look at that. I do have Sky Safari on my phone. Um, it's just half the time I'm too lazy. I either can get what I need on the phone or from the Seestar app, and then I use Stellarium for like deeper dives into stuff. Um, like there's one target specifically I want to get that I know where to get it on in Stellarium, and so I'll have to kind of manually key it in. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I need to finish my food. Although I think I ate most of the bits. I ate some of it. I don't think I'm gonna eat. But yeah, thank you all for joining. And 27 minutes. Yeah. So we'll do it again. Hopefully, hopefully not too long. And if the weather doesn't clear here, it might end up being a remote one. So look out for that too. Um, but until next time. Oh, nice. Well, in New Jersey, we have 3 clear nights. That's good. Let me actually let me see before I sign off. Astrospheric. According to Astrospheric, yeah, like it's going to be clear until noon tomorrow here, and then it's going to be cloudy, and it might clear up between 10 and like midnight tomorrow, maybe. And then Wednesday, it's going to be clear in the afternoon and start getting cloudy just after sunset, which is what's been happening. And same thing on Thursday. It's going to be clear, getting cloudy right at sunset. Yeah. And yeah, that's all for the next 10 days here. So I may have to, I've recovered from my drive to Maine, so I may have to get in the car again and try in search of clear skies. um, let me see. Yep. All right. Well, thank you all. And I just need to figure out where I can end this. All right. I found it. All right. Thanks for joining, and have a good evening. Bye.